shift from the fear of COVID to living with it, and that the normal that we know in the past may not be there anymore.
When you take a vaccine, you're not doing it only for yourself, but for your loved ones, for the people closest to you, and for the rest of the country.
The diseases that these vaccines protect us against are more dangerous than the vaccine.
The treatment does not get rid of the virus, but it prevents the virus from weakening your immune system.
Kindness is really the currency of our time.
It's never a sign of a weakness of one's character. If we want to seek help, if we want to talk to someone.
Number 1, you can get cured. Number 2, it's not your fault that you have this disease.
And it's because they're trying to deny that they have the disease. But once you accept it and you learn to live with it, it's really very easy to be living with diabetes.
Love your eyes and your eyes will love you back. So,
patuloy pa rin ang laban natin sa COVID-19. And together, we can beat the solusyon.
B. Bawal walang mask.
I. Isanitize sa mga kamay. Iwas hawak sa mga bagay.
D. Dumistansya ng 1 metro.
A. Alamin ang totoong impormasyon tungkol sa COVID-19.
Protektahan natin ang sarili at mga mahal sa buhay.
B-I-D-A. Beat the solusyon sa COVID-19.
មុខងារថ្មីអ្នកប្រើកាន់តែស្រួលនិងចំណេញពេលយើងចេញផ្សាយជិត 10000 អត្ថបទក្នុងមាតិកា 29 ធំសុទ្ធតែវិជ្ជបណ្ឌិតជំនាញត្រួតពិនិត្យយ៉ាងយកចិត្តទុកដាក់ឥឡូវបន្ថែមមុខងារថ្មីឲ្យអ្នកអានកាន់តែងាយស្រួលថ្មីអ្វីគឺ bookmark ឬមុខងាររក្សាអត្ថបទទុកអានពេលក្រោយចូលចិត្តកាន់តែច្រើនអាចរក្សាទុកអត្ថបទបានកាន់តែច្រើនចុះធ្វើម៉េចងាយទេចូលទៅកាន់ website Hello Group Pet ហើយគ្រាន់តែចុះឈ្មោះជាមួយ email ឬកណន័យបណ្ដាញសង្គមណាមួយជាការស្រេច Hello Group Pet website សុខភាពធំជាងគេនៅកម្ពុជា
Getting health information has never been this easy. With Hello Sehat, Indonesia's most trusted health information is just one click away. Leading the way since 2015 with 37 million monthly paid views, 20 million monthly users, 935,000 ranking keywords, 20,000 medically reviewed articles, and 1.5 million social media followers with 90-60% of our traffic being organic and direct. Hello Sehat is committed to create a better health content that will inspire users to be healthier, from articles to videos or social media content. We do programmatic, research, online events, and even web management. Our strong research team and experts understand what is needed for people's health. Therefore, we provide an end-to-end solution from health community, live expert chat on social media, hospital booking, doctor booking, and you know what? Every communication are carefully crafted through 4 phases of our user health journey. Let's partner and make Indonesia healthier and happier.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the regional Facebook Live of the Hello Health Group for Mental Health Awareness Month this May. My name is Kai Magsano, Country Lead of Hello Doktor in the Philippines. We'd like to thank our colleagues in Hello Health, Hello Sehat. This is airing in Indonesia. It's also airing, of course, in Hello Kunmor in Thailand, in Hello Krupet in Cambodia, and Hello Doktor with a K in Malaysia. So shout out goes to Madden Ismail of Indonesia. And then you're going to see Peach later here with me. And then to Chip Chet of Cambodia. And of course to Digol Michael and Ayu Idris of Malaysia. Thank you so much for all your support. We are also thanking Alaga Health and Experto PlayLabs for providing technical support to our regional Facebook Live. So before we call in our guest and start the discussion, I'd like to call in my beautiful co-host for today, no other than the marketing manager of Hello Kunmor in Thailand, Miss Peach Sukolabat. Hi, Peach.
Hello. Hello, Kai. How are you?
Hi. Was that a good intro?
What?
Was that a good intro about you? I said that my beautiful co-host for today. So Peach, I'm really grateful that you agreed to co-host today's Facebook Live with me. We're doing this for the whole entire Hello Health group, and of course, we're gonna talk about a topic that's very close to our hearts, right? I mean, both of us, we are advocates for mental health. I want to know, why is mental health an important topic of discussion for you?
So, mental health is most important for our life. So I think, like, if we live without the mental health, if our mental health is weakness, so it's going to impact all of the things like work, heart, work-life balance, or your life. So I think this is a more specific topic that I would like to discuss. So that's why I agreed to join on this conference today.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Peach. As we said, the post-pandemic world. So now, right, 2 years after COVID-19, came down upon the humanity, we are starting to, life is seemingly going back to the new normal, right? But there's also something that's shifted in the world that we know today. So the post-pandemic world, it's described as VUCA, VUCA, volatile, uncertain, it's complex, and it's ambiguous. And this triggers a lot of mental health challenges for a lot of people, right? We're working every day, but we're uncertain about many things, right? Like we don't know where this is going. So we're very grateful today that we have as our main guest, um, our favorite mental health expert, who's always very generous with her time and her energy and her wisdom, no matter how busy she is. I would also like to thank her for accepting our invitation to be part of our expert panel. So after today, you're going to see her on Hello Doctor Philippines at least once a month, so we can talk about matters concerning mental health, whether they be about work or relationships or your own wellness. So let me introduce our guest. Dr. Joan Mae Perez-Rifareal had her residency training in psychiatry at the UP Philippine General Hospital and served as the chief resident after her training. She obtained her fellowship training in consultation liaison psychiatry at Tan Tock Seng Hospital in Singapore. She topped both the written and oral diplomate examinations given by the Philippine Board of Psychiatry in 2009 and 2010, respectively, and was conferred as Fellow of the PPA in 2014. In 2016, she served as a member of the Board of Directors of the PPA as the PRO. As a strong advocate on mental health, Doc Joan has appeared and continues to appear on various TV and radio shows on ABS-CBN, DZMM Teleradio, GMA, and DZBB Super Radio, TV5, Radio 5, PTB4, 1PH, CNN Philippines, just to name a few, where she talks on a wide array of topics on mental health. Doc Joan has also had speaking engagements and won awards for her works in psychiatry, both nationally and internationally. Doc Joan is currently the Residency Training Officer of the Department of Psychiatry at the Veterans Memorial Medical Center. She is also active in the academe as a faculty member of the Ateneo School of Medicine and Public Health and Health Sciences program of the Ateneo de Manila University. So without further delay, we'd like to call in our beautiful guest for today, Doc Joan Rifareal.
Hello, good afternoon, Kai. Thank you very much for that kind introduction. Good afternoon, Peach, and to everyone to everyone who is currently listening or watching us from FB Live. Is that right? FB Live, Kai?
Yes, Doc Joan, we are airing on the Facebook pages across 5 different markets of Hello
Oh,
Health
wow.
Group, Southeast Asia. Yes, thank you to the support of
Thank
our.
you.
You remember Madden, right? He can't be with us today
Yes.
because he is on they're on holiday in Indonesia, but they're always very supportive. So we're very grateful for the support of our peers, even the leadership of Hello Health. Shout out to Graham and Abhishek for always pushing our initiatives on our LinkedIn page. Doc Joan, to get the conversation going,
Yes,
you
yes.
get invited. I mean, I don't know how much the need to discuss about mental health has grown since the pandemic started 2 years ago. Maybe you can tell us how important it is. Why do you think it's even more important for us to highlight and really discuss mental health today?
Yes. First, I would like to greet everyone a happy Mental Health Awareness Month. We know that May, we celebrate Mental Health Awareness Month for every May of the year. And I would like to emphasize the need to always be aware that there is no health without mental health. So when we say health, it's always a totality. We look at the holistic perspective. We look at it from a holistic perspective, looking into the physical, mental, psychological, social, and spiritual health and well-being of an individual. So really, Kai and Peach, especially during this time of pandemic, we know that we are in the into the third year of the current of this pandemic. So, and the studies have been done and has shown that really there has been a lot of concern recently in the past 2 years about increasing risks for having some mental health concerns due to the current pandemic and the uncertainty brought about by this current state. We know that there a lot have lost their lives due to the pandemic, livelihood. Of course, there have been changes, and any form of change, in fact, and any form of uncertainty, we are not even sure as to when this pandemic will end or how it will end or when. And so really, with this uncertainty, in fact, it's making us feel that everything is beyond our control, or a lot of things are out of our control, and thus it creates more anxiety, more fear, more worry. But what's also good is that hopefully it will get better from here on. Hopefully, we pray that this pandemic will end sooner rather than later. We are currently in the Philippines Beach. We are in the lowest level of alert. It's alert level 1 here. So meaning hopefully everything will be better from here on as we continue to practice and observe the health protocols also.
Right. Earlier today, I had a meeting with Pratyusha Dasgupta, our AVP for regional partnerships, and we were already looking at COVID as endemic. It is now part
Yes.
of our lives, right, Doc Joan? And
Correct.
speaking of something that's part of our lives, the title of our FB Live is Stress, Loneliness, and Mental Health. So let's talk about stress. A lot of people, for example, think that, I just need to change my job, there will be no more stress. Or I just need to change my present circumstance, and on the other side, there will be no more stress. But the thing is, stress follows us anywhere we go.
Yes.
Uh, I'm right, Doc Joan, that I'm speaking
Correct.
from experience. But
It's correct. It's correct, Kai. I
right,
agree. I agree. Yes, in fact, Kai and Peach, stress is a normal part of life. It's a normal part of life. In fact, the word stress itself, it is stated there. It's in the definition of mental health as defined by the World Health Organization. We can see the word stress. It's there. It's emphasized that stress is a part of life. What's important is that we know how to cope or manage or handle our stressors well. So that's the second aspect of mental health as defined by the World Health Organization. The first one is that we are able to realize, we know what our abilities are. We know what our skills or talents are. Number two, that's about stress. We know how to cope with the stressors of life. Number three, we are able to work productively. We are able to work fruitfully in our chosen roles or jobs, profession. And lastly, we are able to make a contribution to our community. So from that definition alone, from the World Health Organization, we can see that stress is a normal part of life. What's important is that we are aware of when we feel the tension inside us, when we feel that stress, in fact, Kai and Peach, is defined as that perception, that feeling. It's a feeling, it's an emotion of imbalance. So if we are to picture it in our head, it's like a balance beam. So there's an imbalance between the demands imposed on us by society, by our family, by our work, by our relationships, versus our capacity to cope with it. So our coping strategies, our coping skills on how to manage or address the demand. So there's a feeling of imbalance wherein there is a perception of demands more than our capacity to be able to handle it, to handle the situations which are causing the stress. Because stress, Kai and Peach, can come from different areas of our lives. It can be negative sources of stress, but do you know, Peach and Kai, that positive events, even happy events, can also be stressful. So it can be a positive source of stress. So there's such a thing as positive stress, but still there is that tension, there is that buildup of tension within us when we are forced to engage in situations wherein there is change, there is pressure to perform. So yeah, so those can be the sources of stress. Both positive and negative events can have an impact.
Okay. Thank you, Doc Joan. Peach, would you
Yes.
like to ask the next question
Yeah,
to
I
Doc?
have a list of the creation here. So I do list some creation. So you mentioned about we have to manage our stress, right? Because the mental health is most important for us, and stress is everywhere and is a part of our mental health. So I would like to know what are the lifestyle tips or change we can immediately do to help manage our stress. So just give
Yes.
us a number, doctors.
Yes, Peach, that's a very good question because we know that again, we may encounter stressors anytime, anywhere, any day, maybe with any person, with any person that we meet. But what's important is to, again, as we mentioned earlier about the feeling of uncertainty, which may also make us feel stressed, that feeling of things going beyond our control. So that's the first tip that I can give to everyone who are tuned in right now. First is to focus on the things that we have control over because we know that the pandemic, this current financial stress, the stress from work, maybe, or the demands from our family, from our jobs, at some point may be things or events that are beyond our control. But what's important is to focus on what can we control, what situations or what things do we have control over. So that's first. So maybe focus on that. So, for example, if we ask everyone what are the things that are within our control, so maybe we have more control over our sleeping patterns, eating patterns. We know that it's very important to have a healthy mind or a sound mind in a healthy body. So sleep, in fact, and eating are the two basic bodily functions, which are the pillars of our physical health. So we need to take care that and get enough rest, sleep, and eat as much as we can. I mean, eat healthy foods regularly. Make sure that we are able to move about. Exercise is also very important. So all of these are part of maintaining that healthy physical activity lifestyle. Get as much exercise as we can. We know that when we move, we boost the level of endorphins or the happy hormones, and it boosts the blood circulation to our brain to nourish our brain cells with oxygen. So it's really very important to move, exercise. Of course, when we feel stressed, also, Peach, one of the tips also is to, of course, be mindful. Mindfulness is a strategy. It can help us focus on what needs to be done here and now. Meaning, sometimes we feel stressed, Kai and Peach, because we always go back to what happened in the past. Sometimes we go back to past events and then we reflect on it. Am I a failure because of this? I failed math in grade 4, or I failed something. So sometimes our mind goes to past events that, again, we have no control over that. Those are past events, and I'm sure there's no need to go back to remember those events because I'm sure that we've learned so much about ourselves from past events, from past mistakes or failures. And also, let's not look too far ahead into the future, especially now that it's still a pandemic. We may come up with plans about the future, but still everything is uncertain. We may make plans for June, but then maybe something else may happen in June or in July. So what's really important is to focus on what we need to do today, here and now. Meaning, let's take it one day at a time, so that we don't get to feel too overwhelmed. There's a feeling of being pressured from all aspects of life. So that's another. So that's mindfulness. And another, of course, is to practice self-care. Self-care, meaning let's always remember that we cannot give what we do not have. Like the analogy from my cup of coffee. Pitch, this is Philippines. It's written here. Cup of coffee pitch from the Philippines. So please remember that we cannot give what we do not have. So let's make sure that our cups are full. It's filled to the brim until it overflows. So let's picture that in our heads. In fact, so that we can share more of ourselves. But it's not selfish to begin with ourselves. Make sure that we are energized, we are rested, we are well, we are feeling good. Remember that when our phones get low bat, like if we get 50%, 40%, the initial reaction of our body is to look for a charger. Then we feel panicky. We look for a charger for our phones. It's the same with ourselves, with our mind. Focus on recharging ourselves. Self-care is the key. Remember that we can take care of more people, of our loved ones, if we too are feeling well, we too are feeling good and have recuperated and are full of energy, full of if we are able to rest, get some rest and sleep. I hope those 3 points are clear, Peach. So again, focus on the things that we have control over. Mindfulness is the key, and self-care.
Okay, jumping off from your answer, Doc Joan, how
Yes.
about when it gets to the point that because of stress, we can't be mindful anymore? You know, like if stress is getting too much, that we've lost control of our mind, we want to just open, the discussion on. There are people, especially in the Philippines speech, the culture in the Philippines, people will put up with pain, with discomfort as much as they can, and then they'll deprioritize seeing a doctor or seeing an expert to take care of themselves. So, at what point, or at which, when stress manifests, how do we say or tell, or how do we know if it happens to me, Doc Joan? I'm so stressed. I need the help of a doctor already. How do I know that?
So, which means, Sky, that we need to emphasize that it's a normal reaction, but maybe the question is what are the warning signs or red flags that would tell us that maybe we need to seek help for something, for this mental health concern already? Yes, I agree. Because, Sky, we as mentioned earlier, there is such a thing as productive form of stress. This is a type of stress which will push us to get up in the morning, go to work, so that we won't be late for work and do the tasks that we need to do for the day. But we should be aware, or we should remember, that there is a limit to the amount of stress that our body and our mind can handle. So if we picture it, it's like a bell-shaped curve. No? So that bell, the shape of a bell, there is such a short burst of stress, which can push us to get up in the morning and do the tasks that we need to do. But there is a peak in that curve wherein that's the limit, because beyond that, when stress becomes persistent, if it becomes continuous, it becomes pervasive, then it may have an impact already on our functionality, on the way we are able to perform, do our tasks. So that is one of the red flags, Sky, when we feel that our stress is persistent, if it's continuous, and if it becomes a problem already, when it's causing distress, meaning it's causing dysfunction already, it affects our functionality already, in terms of self-care, functionality at work, when we feel that we are unable to give our best because of burnout. Because when stress is prolonged, it may have a risk. It may give us, it's associated, when stress is prolonged, it can be associated with increased risk for having burnout and anxiety, depression, and other forms of mental health concerns. So that's why we need to be aware of it, so that we can put a stop to it, and of course prevent it from being more complicated.
Can stress affect us physically, Doc Joan? Like physical conditions that manifest because of stress?
Yes. In fact, Guy and Peach, when a person gets stressed, it's not just, again, a lot of things happen in the body when someone feels stressed. First, there is that increase in the levels of cortisol, which is a stress hormone. So this cortisol, the release of cortisol when we are stressed, also it has a lot of impact on our organs, the organs in our body, and it may lead to some health-related issues like risk for high blood pressure, hypertension, diabetes because of increased blood sugar. In fact, 90% maybe, 90% of the body is affected when we are going through chronic or prolonged stress. It can have an impact on our skin, like getting pimples or causing some allergies. It can be a manifestation of stress. Heart problems. It can also increase our risk for digestive problems, indigestion, constipation, or muscle aches and pains. One of the most common manifestation, in fact, Kai, of stress, or the usual that I hear from those under my care, is that it manifests as body aches and pains. Like we feel that there's a tension, headache, and then by the next day it migrates. The pain is now on our shoulders, the back aches and knee pain. So again, it can manifest in a lot of ways, and physical symptoms is one of the manifestations of stress. Aside from the emotional, cognitive, so brain functions can also be affected when we feel stressed. Sometimes when we go through a lot of stressors, our cognitive abilities are affected. Like it's difficult for us to focus, concentrate, attention span is very short. It's difficult for us to make logical or sound decisions, and behavioral changes as well can manifest, like a increase in use of substances as a way of coping, like alcohol, cigarettes. So I hope that when we do our stress management techniques or coping, we focus on the healthier aspect of it, and avoid using other forms of substances as a way to cope or manage or handle our stressors.
Yeah, this is really related to what we have when we speak with Dr. Ayi Falier, Doc Joan, our endocrinologist. Stress
Yes.
eating, right? That's why we have something what that we call stress eating. I'm guilty of that. I don't know about you, Peach. I'm guilty.
Yeah, because stress eating, we know it's also the effect, Kai, of that elevated cortisol, the stress hormones released when we feel that chronic stress. So one of the manifestations is stress eating, and sometimes it may affect our weight, our consumption of food. But what's important is that we are aware, and that one of the reminders, in fact, now one of the things that I would like to remind everyone about stress is that it's very important to be aware of the triggers for our stress. Triggers, understanding what triggers, what are the things. My mic is muted, Kai. Sorry, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
All right, sorry. All right. Um, yeah. So, where was I? the the stress eating. Yes,
Yes.
yes. It can be an effect from the release of cortisol, the stress hormone, when we feel pressured, overwhelmed, and stressed. What's important is awareness of the triggers. What are the things which make us feel stressed? And of course, how does stress manifest? Because individually, we may present with the symptoms or manifestations differently. We may experience stress differently. We may, for some, it may be through bodily aches and pains, but for some, it can be through cognitive decline or cognitive issues or concerns. So it's important to be aware of how stress affects you. Is it through cognitive functions? Is it through body aches and pains, medical issues? Does it exacerbate any existing mental health concerns? So awareness is the key.
Thank you, Doc Joan.
Thank
Peach?
you.
Yeah, Peach, you have your questions.
Yeah. Actually, this is like specific question for you, Dr. John. So I have a state and depression, right? So one thing that when stress coming up, how do you think about thinking in the bright side or positive thing 20 days? Is could help our stress or not? Like
I'm
is
sorry,
that
Peach. I wasn't able
you
to
hear me?
get that. Uh-huh.
Oh, you hear me?
Yes, that is better. That's better.
Oh, sorry. So, okay, my question is that I have heard the stress, this depression, the stress, right? So the thing is that when the stress coming up, I try myself, I try best on myself to think on the bright side and think on the positive thing. And I have a challenging 21 days to think positive, don't think negative. So do you think this could be help us above beyond the exercise or other thing that you suggest before? It's because this, the stress is coming up from us and the negative thing going to coming up also, so this is going to hurt our mental health. So do you have any
Yeah.
idea?
Yes, thank you, Peach, for this question. But yeah, that is very important. It's a very good point that you raised, that mindset is also the key. One of the factors which is very important through all of these, through all of the stressors and struggles and challenges that we encounter through life. A positive mindset is a key. It is really very helpful to focus on the challenge that you made for yourself, Peach. That 21-day challenge is very good to focus your mindset on the positive aspect of life, focusing on the things to be grateful about, the grateful for. I'm sure you included that in your journaling of the things that you've been grateful for the past 21 days, because we know that with that positive mindset now comes positive emotions, and it can translate to positive actions. So there is always that relationship between mind, what goes on through our head, and how we feel about it, and what to do about it. So a positive thought can lead to positive emotions that feel good emotions. We feel optimistic, and it can lead to positive actions.
Thanks, Doctor. Yeah,
Thank you.
Good luck with that challenge, Peach. 21 days of positive thinking. Let me
I try to doing, once the stress coming up to me, I try to start, beginning every month, 21 day challenge.
That's good. Hey, in fact, Peach, I'm sure part of your journaling, you include the things that you are grateful for, right? Studies have shown that the happiest people, the more content people, the happiest people are the grateful ones. So it's really important to practice gratitude. And I can relate this to what I mentioned earlier about mindfulness, taking it one day at a time. And if I may add to that, taking it one day at a time, and at the end of each day, celebrate all forms of victories, be it small or anything that we've overcome or achieved or done during the day. Let's celebrate all victories at the end of each day.
I agree with that. Yeah, no matter how small, right, Doc Joan?
Yes, correct.
No matter how small. So before we go to loneliness, I have 3 questions from members of the Hello Doctor team. I'm gonna ask them now because I think Doc Joan can answer them all together. No, they're quite related. Number 1, how can we not stress out other people when we are stressed? And number 2, how can we communicate to other people that we are stressed? I think some people have a hard time communicating, now, Doc Joan, that they're stressed or they need some space, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So those 2 questions, Kai, I agree. They are interrelated. They're intertwined. In fact, when we talk about communication, we should remember that communication is more of listening rather than speaking. So open lines of communication and active listening, it's very important. So first, as the listener, it's very important that we maintain that open mind. We maintain that non-judgmental stance. When someone comes to us and tells us that we are stressed, I'm stressed, I need your help, I need your support, please, it's a privilege, it's an honor, in fact, if someone comes to you and regards you as someone whom he or she can trust, tell you about his life stories, then please maintain an open mind. Listen as much as you can. Active listening is the key. No judgments, and never impose your thoughts on the other person. And for the person who's going through stress, sometimes what keeps a person saying that or telling the support system that he or she is stressed is the component of stigma. There it's that stigma of feeling ashamed or feeling the stigma that maybe they feel ashamed of saying about the struggles that they've been going through because they might be quote unquote labeled as weak or you are just acting out. So these are some of the perceptions that we need to correct. And for someone who is going through a lot of struggles, it's always best to talk about it. Look for people whom you trust. And I'm sure that there are a lot. And for those who really value confidentiality, there are support groups, hotlines, crisis hotlines available, which they can call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and who can provide psychological first aid for instances of for emergency or urgent cases. So again, it's never a sign of weakness. In fact, it's a strength to know when we need to seek help, when we need to talk to someone. And if we are that person whom the other person entrusts his story to, then let's be open-minded and maintain a non-judgmental stance and be there for that person. Reach out and be there. Stay with the person until the person feels relieved or feels better.
Agree. As what Miss Kathy Sanchez Babel said in our FB Live on Grief, kindness is the currency of our time. So, and the golden rule, right, Doc Joan, and just treat people the way you want to be treated. If you were in their position, how would you like for people to help you? So, yeah, before we proceed to the next part of our discussion, we want to thank some of our viewers today here in Manila, in the Philippines. Someone straight from Mindanao, which is the last island beach. It's the last island in the Philippines. There's Boom. And then we also have Min. Thank you so much. And to the others who are also watching, thank you for your support. Now let's talk about loneliness, Dr. Joan.
Yeah.
I was surprised that loneliness is the theme of mental health awareness week this month. So I was thinking, when did loneliness become like a medical concern? How when did it become a medical issue? Because I'm thinking if that was the theme for the mental health week, then there must be something. I don't know. We don't have the data right now, but there must be something in loneliness and in maybe in patterns observed on people right now for that to be the theme. So
Yeah.
Go ahead, Doc.
Yes. In fact, Kai, it has been there for some time now that the studies have shown that, again, loneliness, similar to stress. Let's define it first. Loneliness is a feeling. It's also an emotion similar to stress that anyone may feel or may experience. There can be some good days, not so good days. So again, it's an emotion. It's normal to feel lonely from time to time. And these emotions, we just need to be aware, be mindful again that it's okay to feel lonely from time to time, but when it becomes persistent, so when it becomes persistent and there's that feeling that no one understands us, no one is there for us, we are alone, we're emotionally isolated. I'm saying emotionally isolated because some people may still feel lonely even if there's that physical companionship available. So the emotional isolation, the state of feeling lonely, that we are unable to connect and belong. So it has been there. It has been recognized as a risk factor also for prolonged loneliness, feeling of loneliness. It has been recognized as well as a risk factor for the development of more serious mental health concerns like anxiety, depression. In fact, it's not an official diagnosis, though. It's not an official. It's a symptom. It's a feeling, but it may pose a risk. Prolonged loneliness, that state, subjective. It's subjective also, so it depends on a case to case or from person to person. But prolonged feelings of loneliness can also make us more at risk for developing symptoms of anxiety, depression, and other forms of mental health concerns like substance abuse, substance use, and other forms of medical problems. It also increases the risk for the development of or exacerbates the other medical problems like what I mentioned earlier for stress. It can affect our cardiovascular system. In fact, studies have shown, Kai and Peach, that it's like loneliness. When we feel lonely, when we feel that no one understands us, no one is there for us, we do not belong to any group, it poses a higher risk to the development of dementia. That's the neurocognitive functionality, decline in neurocognitive functioning over time, increases the risk for heart disease more than cigarette use. So really, there has been studies done on this, and that's why we need to be aware that it can have some deleterious effects in the long term.
Is there a medicine for loneliness, Doc Joan? Like, can someone come to you and say, Doc Joan, I've been feeling lonely for quite some time. I am surrounded by friends. There are people who say they care for me. But for some reason, even in the midst of the crowd, I still feel lonely. Now, what's wrong with me? So is there a pharmacological intervention for the state of being lonely?
Before we reach to that level, that pharmacological intervention, which we usually give, Kai, for other mental health concerns, like for clinical depression, for anxiety disorders, know that there are other options available. First is to know that we can, again, loneliness is that sense or feeling of having lack of strong bonds. All right, so there's a feeling of lacking strong bonds with strong low yung the no meaningful, less meaningful relationships, lack of belongingness. So then let's focus on that, target on that first. So target on those the presenting concerns which brought about the loneliness. So maybe reconnect or connections is the key. Connection with oneself is very important. So it starts with ourselves. Because sometimes speech, we think of loneliness as the treatment for this, or the way to address this is to connect with others. But sometimes we forget that we need to connect with ourselves as well. We need to be more aware, to do things to make us feel more empowered, that even if we're feeling this way, we can still do something about it. Like for some, they engage or they make sure that they are they do things or sharpen their skills, make sure that their self-esteem is boosted by doing things which they love, which they know that would make them feel good or happy. So that's one step. Connect with oneself. Go back to your core. What do you think motivates you? What's your passion? What makes you come alive in the morning? So those are the things that would make us feel connected with ourselves. Then connect with others. So that's look for persons whom you can trust, persons whom you feel that you can really feel safe to tell everything, because we know that it can be helpful to stay socially connected with persons whom we feel are our safe spaces. Safe spaces, that these group of individuals, or maybe just one person, but the meaningful bond is there. The quality of relationship is really very important. So even if we have thousands and thousands of friends on Facebook or on social media, but it wouldn't matter, because again, what is important is the quality, the meaningful relationships that we need to have to make us feel good and foster that social relatedness or social connectedness. And aside from connectedness with others, connect with the environment, specifically nature. it can do wonders. Connect with the environment, nature, and that's why during this pandemic we've seen that boom in gardening, doing things like planting flowers, having gardens, potted plants in our home. So connect with nature. It sometimes it also, when we feel connected, one with the environment, one with nature, or we somehow feel connected with the universe. So there's that aspect of connectedness within us, with others, and with the environment or nature.
Aligned with what you said, Doc Joan, about connecting with
Yes.
ourselves. For
Mm-hmm.
example, here in the Philippines, I like to do things by myself. I like watching movies alone. I dine
Yes.
alone. And people immediately look at me and they feel sorry because they think that being alone is the same as being lonely. There is a question from a member of the team. What steps do we need to take to change our mindset or perspective on loneliness?
That's a very good question. Yeah, that's a very good question, Kai, because again, mindset is the key. In fact, there is such a term as or concept as growth mindset that in everything that we do, be it dining out alone and knowing that I'm comfortable to eat out alone on my own or watch movie in a cinema alone. But there is always that opportunity for growth. It makes us more independent. It makes us feel that we are empowered to do things, and it boosts our self-esteem to be able to do that. So one key element there is not to mind them, not to mind the comments. So just this is something again related to the first topic, which I mentioned about having no control over some situations. We definitely have no control over the thoughts, the actions, the behaviors, the attitudes of people around us. But it's okay. What's important is focus, shift your control over yourselves, over your thoughts, your actions, your behaviors, and it should be okay. So again, there are some things beyond our control, and that's one of that. And always remember that we should never compare, because for them, they may feel more confident if they're with a group of people. Sometimes they feel that it's a safety. They are in a blanket. It's a safe blanket, which offers them that sense of security when they are with a group. But sometimes to each his own, to each his own. So be comfortable. If you feel that it's what's making you feel good and happy, then go for it, Kai. Go do it, and just know that we have different ways of coping, different strategies, different ways of handling things, and different personalities. And it's never, never compare with anyone.
It's okay to be different, right, Doc?
Of
It's not a bad
course.
thing, right?
Of course. Oh, yeah.
There's a nice question here from a member of the team. Why do some people feel sadness or loneliness more profoundly than joy? Like when they're sad, they just feel it more deeply than when they're happy. Why does that happen, Doc?
Yeah, it can be a lot of factors. When we look into emotions, reactions, feelings, we look at it from a psychosocial, spiritual perspective always. So we cannot, it's so difficult to pinpoint anything, to a specific reason for our emotions and feelings or our mental state. So physically, some of the biological component would include, for example, the hormones I mentioned earlier, the brain, the neurotransmitters in our brain, or maybe genetics as well. Impact of we know that there are cases of having depressive personalities, like really now they feel more depressed, and it's their part of their personality. So it can be a factor also psychologically. Maybe there is that's how they prefer to do things. So there is that underlying meaning to everything that's happening. So usually in therapy we talk about it. What is the meaning of all of these emotions, the symptoms that is being presented or that's being felt by the individual? So there's a meaning behind every emotion or action. Socially, maybe there is also that impact of having social support, less social support, or the quality again of the support available for us, and spirituality, finding the meaning and purpose of everything that's happening now in our lives. So talk therapy can definitely help. Not necessarily from a mental health professional. We can start with our family members. We can talk. Maybe they are our allies. In fact, no? Some family members whom we trust, or if we feel that we need someone uh, with a more objectivity to look at the situation, we can go to our counselors in school, guidance counselors, psychologists are also there. So definitely, or church services, pastors, ministries. So a lot of people can definitely guide us through the process of understanding ourselves.
Thank you, Doc Joan. That gives me a lot of hope, and I think a lot of people who are watching who may be going through this stress and loneliness, you will find someone who can listen to you. Do not lose hope. Do not give up too quickly.
Yes.
Speaking of that, someone from the team also asked. This is from the perspective of now the people who are around the patient. No, how can we reach out to people whom we think are lonely? Let's say, for example, we get the feel that someone is not okay, but we don't know how to approach them. Is there a way that we can approach them, and they don't feel like maybe we're encroaching into their privacy? Yeah.
Yes, without being too intrusive.
Correct.
Yeah, correct. So make sure, but I'm happy that someone asked this because definitely it can be tricky. It can be a challenge. The question there is, should I, should I even ask this person how he is? Yes, definitely we can. In fact, it starts from there. Sometimes a lonely person may just be waiting for someone to ask how he or she is. So we can ask, how are you? And really mean it when we ask, how are you? If you feel that, or if you can see a pattern, changes in behavior, a pattern of changes in routine of this person behavior, then those are warning signs or red flags that for us to reach out and ask. There is no harm in asking, how are you? And if that person opens up, then it's good. Then maybe the next step to that question is, how can I help? So that's what we call compassion, empathy, listening, knowing, and feeling how the other person is going through, feeling it. And the second step is compassion. How can I help? Action part. So we shouldn't stop from at that question of how are you, but maybe go beyond that and ask how we can help as a friend, as a colleague at work. So that's very important. But if the other person is still not yet ready to talk about the things, the challenges that he or she is going through, then let's give the person some time, the space that they need, because the more we push or try to engage, the more it may make them step back and retreat. So when someone is not yet ready, but let them know and reassure them that we are here anytime that they're ready. We are here to help them, support them, and that they are never alone. And let's just wait for them to be ready to open up.
Yeah, I was hearing unconditional love the whole time Doc Joan was speaking, right? The way we can give love to a person without any condition, even if maybe right now they're not ready to speak to us, but they can feel
Correct.
that we love them, right, Doc Joan?
Yes, and then yeah, unconditional love, Kai, and support. Support
And
is very
support.
important. Yeah, because sometimes it's really difficult, and the individual might not be ready as of yet to really talk about it. But let them know that once they're ready, help is always available, and we are always there, ready to give that help and support that they need.
Right. I super agree. It's I can't believe it feels like we just started with our Facebook Live. We're already at the end of the hour. Thank you so much, Doc
So
Joan.
fast. Yes, thank you. Thank you very much for having me, Kai and Peach, and to the Hello Doctor group here in Asia. And I'm sure this will reach worldwide. This will reach to our kababayans worldwide, Kai, with the reach that you have for Alaga Health and Project PlayLabs, Experto
Mhm.
PlayLabs. Yeah, and I'm sure, and I hope that we were able to help everyone through this short discussion tonight. So my final words may be, Kai, if I may, just a few takeaway from the discussion this afternoon. Again, stress, loneliness, bursts of loneliness, and other forms of emotions are normal. We may encounter stressors anytime, any day, and feel stressed. But what's important is that we are aware of our emotions. Again, self-awareness is key. We understand and identify the triggers of our emotions so that we can adapt, we can adjust how we react to our triggers and to our emotions, how we can healthily manage and cope with our stressors well, and that no one is alone. We are all in this together. So if you feel the need to talk to someone, I'm sure that there are trust people whom you can trust in your social support network, and there are crisis hotlines available as well. And please remember that to never lose hope, even if you're going through tough times now, difficult times. It's the third year now into this current pandemic, but remember that everything shall pass. This too shall pass. There is no struggle or challenge that continues or persists until forever. This too shall pass, and trust that we will all come out as better stronger individuals, both personally and professionally, from all of the struggles and challenges that we've been through.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Doc Joan.
Thank you.
Yeah, my heart is so full. Thank you.
Thank
Yes, me too.
Yeah.
Thank
So,
you.
Peach, what did you learn from our hour with Doc Joe talking about stress, loneliness, and mental health? What is your takeaway?
So this is the topic that I requested you before to sis, are you going to have a stress mental health training or discussing with the doctor? So I'm really happy to join, and then Dr. John gave us a lot of the treatment, a lot of the way to curb our stressful and then our loneliness. So it's pretty good for us to manage our stress. So I'm going to adapt for my life also. I still have some gap to closing. I tried my best to do, doctor, but it's kind of a bit hard, when going to do to crop our stress. If it's coming in the long term, so it's hard to crop. But I'm going to try my best, and also I'm going to um, educate our team also to manage our stress.
Right. We are all a work in progress, Peach, and you're continuously working on yourself. I love that
Yes,
about you.
Kai. Thank you. Yes, Kai, and I agree with Peach, Kai. It is always a process. In fact, everything is a process. Our self-discovery, our growth, the things, it's always a process. It's never it's not a magic thing that tomorrow we are stronger, we are better. It's always a process, but trust on this process and know that you are never alone through this journey, and that there are people behind you to support you, and you are never alone. And Hello Doctor is always here to help everyone through their platforms for various talks on health, and especially on mental health.
Right. For me, Doc Joan and Peach, I used to have on our calendar in the Philippines team every Tuesday a reminder to check in with one another. I called it check in Tuesday. And then every Thursday, there is a reminder to say thank you to someone. I call it Thank You Thursday. Because these small things can really make a difference. You don't know if reaching out to someone right now can actually save a life. Like we don't know what's going on. Even if we're talking to people, you're hearing me here, right? Some things could be going on behind this. So just reach out to people. Um, it's the end of Mental Health Awareness Month internationally, but there are a lot of mental health events that are coming on September 8th. That's Are You OK Day. It's right before September 10th, which is Suicide Prevention Day. There is a reason for that. Okay. Asking, Are you okay, is very powerful. And then in October, there's Mental Health Week in the Philippines, the second week, and October 10 is Mental Health Day. But if you ask me, every day is Mental Health Day, every day of the year, every day, right, Doc Joan? So it's we're all a work in progress, like what Pete shared, and Doc Joan is always here. I'm excited. Like I mentioned earlier, you're gonna see Doc Joan once a month here on Hello Doctor and Hello Health. So that's because of her advocacy to help you have a stronger mind, so that you can love yourself more and therefore have more love to give, right, to others. So thank you again,
Thank
Doc
you.
Joan and Pete.
Thank you.
Today.
Thank you.
Thank you to
Thank you,
everyone.
Kai. Thank you, Peach. Thank you to everyone who are tuned in right now. Hello, Doctor Group. Regards to all of you from all over the world. Thank you very much. Thank you. And more power. Take care always, Peach, Kai. More power and stay safe always. God bless you all.
Thank you. So until our next Facebook Live next month, this has been Kai Magsanok for Peach, Sokolaban of Ilocos in Thailand, and Doc Joan. Until our next Facebook Live, please stay well. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.